Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Championship Weekend, UFA 2025, semifinal Friday here at Bree-Stevens Field. And over the next hour and a half, we'll talk with all four coaches and two players from each team. Let's get started with the head coach of the Salt Lake Shred, Bryce Merrill. Bryce, welcome back to Championship Weekend. You were with us last year, now back in the coaching position. I wanted to ask you to start. Clearly, at the end of last year, things were not all clicking for your team, but this year it seems like from the very start the pieces have fallen into place. Why have things clicked this year for your team, in your opinion?
That's a little fair. Last year's team was really good too. We lost the division championship game by one after a sloppy performance. This year we won the division championship game by one after a sloppy performance. And so, I think one block goes that way and it's a totally different narrative. So I love where we're at. I love our team this year. I loved our team last year. It wasn't this massive, change or redirection or, once we finally got rid of this coach or that player. It's like, no, I think realistically things went well. We ride a razor thin margin as a Salt Lake Shred. We play a little loose, a little fast. And this year it worked out 1 point better than last year.
Bryce, what do you feel is kind of like the team energy or the difference in team feeling coming into championship weekend this time around versus Minnesota a couple of years ago?
I mean, we didn't even know what to feel a couple of years ago. I think this year it's nice to have a few guys that have done this before, for better and worse, and so we know some things. We're overthinking about certain things. Obviously, the last time we were at championship weekend, we had one of our most memorable games. And so I'd like to announce that we have Joel Clutton on stand. No, but I think realistically it's good to know where we're at. We do know it's a matter of getting onto the field for the first point, and then catches and throws takes over. Some of the training takes over. And so I think that's been good for us. We've worked really hard to make sure we don't have a lot of expectations for the weekend. We just want to play to our standard, and the expectation will happen, but not to focus on what needs to happen to judge our season or judge success or what we should look like at a championship weekend. Really just to play how we've been playing all season and try to execute at a slightly higher level.
Coach, welcome to Madison. Welcome back to the Final Four championship weekend. For me, my question is, I think your offense gets so much of the publicity, but in the key moment in that West Division game, your defense step up. I really want to hear more about what you think about your defense and what role they're going to play, in this game tonight against Boston.
Great question. I love the Shred defense. Assistant coach Eric Holt has done a lot to help with setting us up for success this year. He's done well. My favorite games are like the West Division Championship, where we had, I think, 11 different guys register a block, and the 9 guys that forced those blocks with great lockdown defense, great handler help, a nicely timed switch. And so I think we're looking for them. One of our captains, Nathan Huff, he's our D-line captain. He is not going to be playing tonight. He's in concussion protocol, so he was a late scratch. He'll be with us on the sideline, though. He said it best, don't play a different role, just play the role a little bit more exact. And so we're looking for different guys to generate pressure all game long, and then somebody's going to be the one that gets the opportunity to get that block when the time comes. So it's a team effort. It's a 4-quarter effort. Team like Boston, very talented, very well coached. I hear they got a couple of guys over 6 foot. We don't, so we'll have to sort of figure that out. But I think overall is going to be, can we stick to our game plan even when they, as a great team at championship weekend, find success? Can we stick to our plan to hopefully get the result at the end of quarter 4, not at the end of quarter 1?
Hello. Boston has shown the ability to possess the disc for long stretches and put it into the end zone. How do you want to try to tackle their offense with your team? I mean, you talked about the height a little bit, but forcing them to huck maybe would be to your advantage, even though you wouldn't necessarily think that, just considering how much they kind of picked apart DC. So I'm just curious for your thoughts on what you want to try to get them to do offensively to try to take away what they've done so well the last few wins.
I think it's the old Pat Stegemiller article about, when you're the underdog, you sometimes have to play a high variability style of offense. And when your best strategy is to tempt the team with Cable, Johnson Go, Babbitt, Decraene on the throwing side to huck, I think that is saying a strategy that might work. Now, I don't disagree with you. It's something we've looked at and, maybe something we'll mess around with. But I think overall, we can't worry too much about adapting an entire season's worth of strategy to one team. I think we need to take shades of some of that to get used to this East Coast style of play. But realistically, we're going to have to generate pressure we've been trying to all season. And then maybe in the second quarter, we'll see if we got to adjust from there.
You've got a lot of young players in high leverage roles, rookies that took a lot of responsibility. Which of your young players, I'm sure you could talk about all of them, but which ones stand out the most in terms of how they've been able to step into big roles for you and really deliver in big moments and big games this year?
You know, our captain, Matt Rustnagel, celebrated Sammy Pugh at our last practice, you know, sort of not a passing of the torch. You know, he's not retiring or anything, but just to recognize one of these, you know, teenagers that is playing significant points. Sammy's one of the guys that doesn't register a ton of blocks for us. He builds a lot of our pressure for us, and he's able to take a great assignment. We'll expect that from him. DeMorgan's due for a big game. We're excited for him. You've seen what Kimball Pugh can do. I mean, like you said, I could just pick one of our 17 young players and be ready for them. We don't really need one of them to do it. The other one is McKay Yorgason. I hate to talk about a Yorgason again, but where Chad and Luke have been, you know, stable for us for years, statistically, McKay is our best player. Statistically, McKay is one of the best players in the entire UFA. And statistics don't win games, but I think it speaks to his value and the amount of workload that he shoulders in putting his teammates in really good positions. And he does it. How old's McKay? 22, 23? For this story, we'll say 20. And it's just great to see a young guy like that, you know, where the defensive guy is one play at a time. It's McKay sort of minute in, minute out, managing a lot of our offensive work.
Hey, Coach, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I actually love that Evan went that direction because I wanted to kind of go that direction too. With having so many young players, what are some of the things that you do to build culture and chemistry, and what are some of the ways that you invite those young players in? Tell me some of the either activities or like what does that look like for your team?
Great question. I mean, our culture is owned by some of our youngest players naturally. They are that glue, that chemistry, that simplicity. We are trying to give them permission to be young. That's something we really build off of. It's okay to be young. It's okay to have an early first quarter turn that is 100% adrenaline based. You know, give yourself permission to be where you're at. Let's not, you know, raise an artificial expectation. But then can you grow from it, and do your teammates trust you to work through that? And so just keep making better mistakes and more nuanced mistakes as the season goes on. It's okay to be 20. It's okay to be 23. It's okay to be a first-year UFA. That's who we are, and so let's not fight that. Let's just embrace that and see if we can, you know, continue to ride that wave for another game or two.
Coach, appreciate all your thoughts so far. When you think about Boston as an opponent, I love what you were saying about we don't necessarily want to change an entire season's worth of reps and strategy specifically for one opponent. But when you're looking at Boston tonight and you're thinking about what's going to be important for Salt Lake to be successful, which phase of the game is kind of most important in your mind between O-line O, O-line D, D-line O, and D-line D?
They'll have the best D-line offense that we've seen all season. They are very efficient, very ruthless in that possession management. We got some gifts earlier this season in clutch moments from other teams. D-line offense, I don't think we're going to get those. And so I think, you know, that one of those X factors is, can Jordan Kerr lead our team in blocks tonight? Can we dispossess them even when they don't make a mistake? Can we just wear them down or get them to call that timeout early and leverage the next 18 minutes against them where they're maybe trying to hold on to that last timeout? And so I think a lot of that I just look to our veterans. We've won the 1A phase of the game, and we've used that to win some games before. It's got to be that second phase of can we score when we get the ball from their O-line, and can we get it back when they take it from our O-line?
Bryce, Merrill, best of luck tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. We will let you go.
Appreciate y'all. Thanks.
We'll bring in Chad Yorgason. The middle of the three Yorgason brothers
right.
on the shred. Chad, thanks for joining us. 2 years ago, you were at championship weekend, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're the one who threw the last throw at the end of regulation that got deflected, right?
Yeah, it's a good question to boost my confidence here at the start. Yeah.
What do you remember from that moment?
Oh, man. Obviously, that was a tight game the whole entire time. I remember just playing my heart out, and all of our guys did. And yeah, I mean, that was obviously just kind of throwing up a prayer at the end. I knew we had Joel out there in the deep end zone, and you know, he's really good at those kind of bailout plays. And so if there's anyone I can trust on my team for something like that, it was him. And yeah, he made the play and it was awesome.
All right, talking about tonight, the Boston Glory, what has stood out most to you in the film you've watched and the conversations you've had with your team, and how do you beat this really good Boston team tonight?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't have a whole lot of new plans. I think we've been playing against very, very good teams this whole season. Obviously, our region has a bunch of teams that have given us a lot of tough games. This last game with Oakland, yeah, we really had to work for it. And I think, you know, there's obviously some things that change from team to team and things that we need to adjust for. But my biggest plan is just to kind of play the same game. I think just playing with a lot of heart and playing with as much as I can. You know, pumping up my teammates and making sure everyone's doing the same, I think is our best chance of winning.
Chad, when you think back to, you know, when the Shred first broke into the league in 22, and now here you are at your second championship weekend here in 25, what makes the 2025 iteration of the Shred unique?
Yeah, I mean, it's been said a lot how young our team is and how many new guys we have. And I think that is especially one of the defining factors of this year. And I think we've embraced it really, really well. And it's been super fun, I think, for all of the guys who've been playing before and all the veterans to see all the energy and the excitement that those young guys have brought. There's just something exciting about playing UFA for the first year. And you know, I think, you know, our team has been called a group of boys, and I love that. I think that's awesome. These boys are getting it done. And it's fun to be a part of a team like that where, you know, sometimes could be seen as an underdog because of how young we are, and I love being an underdog. And so that's just kind of, you know, I totally embrace that, and I think it's fun.
Yeah, you talk about those young players, but, you know, from my perspective, I've seen you really step up this year. I mean, the stats don't lie in that situation. I think previous this year you had 3,000 yards as your most yards. This year you have 6,000. You're a high volume toucher of the disc. What's kind of attributed to that change in philosophy for you, or that change in role? Has it come from coach? Has it been something that you've just tried to, you know, take on yourself? You know, walk me through kind of that transition this year into becoming more of a predominant player on this team. Not that you weren't in the past, but you've kind of stepped up into a bigger role.
Yeah, totally. I don't think I necessarily play any differently than I have before. I obviously attribute most of that to just our team, and you can't have a lot of stats without a good team, obviously. I obviously think, you know, one change that's happened for me this year is I've been playing off O-line, which is different than, honestly, my whole career, and I think it's been fun. It's been a good change. But yeah, like, it's crazy playing with an O-line that we have with McKay, my brother, with Kerr, with Mills, with, you know, Snog and Jace and Will. It's crazy how many guys that we have that can play as well as they do, and I think all together we just make it work. But yeah, I've enjoyed kind of the switch of roles and just try to do my best in whatever way I can.
Chad, did the mentality shift at all in terms of decision making or seeing the game as an O-line player this season?
Yeah, definitely, actually. You know, as a D-line player, I gotta just give all of my energy, and you know, there's different mental games that I think you can play as a defender, especially when you've got the same matchup the whole game. You kind of, you know, get to know how your cutter that you're guarding is moving, what they like to do, their preferences. And as an O-line player, it almost feels opposite of that. I kind of got to, you know, play this mental game with my defender, and I love those kind of mental games. I feel like that's kind of that's one of the things that I think is not talked about as much, but is a big part of this game, where you have a matchup and you beat them with your legs, but you also beat them with your mind, and you know, that's a fun game to play with for me, and I've really enjoyed that.
What are some areas you feel the Shred have an advantage over the Glory in today's game?
Yeah. Well, I know it's been mentioned before too. They've got some big guys, and that's pretty fun. I like playing, you know, all kinds of teams, obviously, and teams that we've played already have tall, big athletes, But honestly, I don't feel like that's going to be a problem. I'm excited to see how our guys match up. I feel like our team has showed that we're very, very confident and capable of playing up and playing really, really good defense, tight defense on people who, you know, everybody expects to get the disc. But somehow we come up with some Ds, and I'm really proud of our D-line who's really put a lot of pressure on all these teams that we've played.
How valuable do you think it was to have played out of division games this season? You played a couple of the teams here.
Yeah, extremely valuable. I mean, it's I'm honestly mostly super grateful for the league that you know lets us organize all these kinds of games that are out of division. I think, you know, playing Atlanta, playing Minnesota, obviously gives us that little bit of edge if we meet them here again, which they're both here, which is kind of exciting. And you know, there's obviously a different style of play from the East to the West, and it's been really good for us, I think, to just be able to have some experience this year playing an East Coast team and kind of mixing that with our West Coast games and seeing kind of the differences. And yeah, I think it definitely helps us prepare for, you know, a weekend like this.
Chad, final question for you, and it's about the guy we're going to talk to next, Tony. How have you seen him grow since you guys have been on the team together, and what was it like seeing him make the plays he did in the fourth quarter against Oakland? Like, just how did he arrive to that moment to make those plays in that situation to bring you here?
Yeah, that's my favorite question. I love talking about my boys. Tony is incredible. Like, I knew Tony back in high school, actually. We played against each other in high school. He played for Timpview High, I played for Green Canyon High, and we matched up all the time. He guarded me, I guarded him, and there were some, like, I knew from the start, like, there was going to be a future for Tony, and he's completely showed that in each year of Shred, and in specific this last game that we had against Oakland, obviously played out of his mind and had a couple huge Ds that just changed the game. Yeah, that big D that he had right in the end zone there at the end, I was right there with him. I was next to him in the end zone. We were both trying to get that D, and it was, yeah, you saw on the video, you know, everyone just started cheering like crazy once he got that, and then we had to go put the game away. But you know, he's a guy that's going to go make that play, and he's a guy that just grinds and just digs in and will shut a handler down when he needs to. So I'm excited to see how he plays this weekend.
Awesome. Chad, thanks so much. Best of luck tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
That's Chad Yorgason, and we will bring up his teammate Tony Mounga to wrap up our conversations with the Shred. Tony, congrats on being back. Make sure the back of the chair is pretty close to the edge there. That would be an embarrassing way to go. Chad was just talking about playing against you in high school. What do you remember about Chad Yorgason matching up against him in high school?
Yeah, so Chad beat us for just about every championship, and it was always about by like 1 or 2 points. And yeah, I mean, I always wanted to guard Chad because Chad was like the top dog in our state, and I knew if I was going to get better, that's the way, guard Chad.
When you guys were down 14-11, I believe, at the start of the fourth quarter, what were you feeling in that moment?
Yeah, so before games, I usually like to sit crisscross. I like to take a moment for myself, a moment for my family, and a moment for what must be done. Now, the first thing I was thinking of was O-line needs a hold. And I think that's just a big testament of, like, it wasn't going to happen on my own. Like, I literally wasn't on the field in that scenario. And so it's, you know, point to my teammates. And then it definitely just, like, when Reese threw the shot to Magsig, in my head it just was like, hey, I could go get that. And from there on, it just kind of was like, I don't know, Magsig don't want to see me no more.
That's a great way to put it. When you think about Boston as an opponent, obviously they've got tons of talent on their offensive line. Who knows whether you get Babbitt for a few points or someone else on your D-line gets Babbitt for a few points, but how do you guys envision slowing his talent and impact down?
Specifically Babbitt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's got 0 turnovers, and I don't know. He's really big, real strong, and I feel like for me, it's not so much about like slowing these players down. Like for me, like I want to go against Chad every year in high school, and for me now, it's like if I want to win the title, who have I got to go against? It's gonna be Babbitt. It's gonna be Feiner. It's gonna be, you know. And so if I want these things, then I got. And no, I don't want him to be half-mast. I want him to be full strength. And then when I win, now it's, I'm honorably the champion. Yeah.
So I asked your coach this question, but I want to ask you this as well. So a lot of times, and things that we see that are written about your team, they're talking about the O-line, right? I think that's kind of, a lot of times the Shred gets talked about as an offensive team. As a guy that has been predominantly on this D-line, and obviously with the last game, the D-line stepping up in that key moment, how do you guys stay ready? What's your guys' mentality? I know, I've been on teams in the past where it's just the O-line's talked about, the D-line's almost kind of forgotten. How do you guys stay ready? How do you guys stay motivated?
Yeah, well, that best offense, we get to practice against them, 2-3 times a week, and they're really good because they have to go against us. And I just think in that regard, iron sharpens iron. We have a really good offense, and that's why we have really good defense, and vice versa. And so, yeah, I'd say that.
You obviously came up with some super clutch blocks in the previous playoff game. Are you trying to set up in a position where you're kind of baiting a swing pass that you can go after, or is it just like that's generally you're in a good defensive position? Like, how did you come up with those plays?
Yeah, so I kind of break the rules sometimes, and I don't do what I'm supposed to all the time. I don't know, just in general, I think the way Ultimate works is if you know the options, then you know kind of like what you're giving up and what you're going to get, and that's just the way I frame it, and then it makes it so I know what he's doing, and then I can go do what I want to do based on that, yeah.
All righty, Tony, thank you very much for your time this morning. Best of luck tonight. We'll let you go and get ready for your game. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Dread the Shred, baby.
All right, that'll wrap up the Salt Lake Shred portion of the proceedings, and we will transition quickly to their opponent for tonight. Tony Mounga just exchanged a handshake with Sam Rosenthal, the head coach of the Boston Glory.
Was I cheating? I was listening to him.
I don't think there were any secrets being told, but if you want to tell us some secrets.
He already told me he breaks all the rules.
Okay.
We were talking when Yorgason was up here, so.
Sam, congrats on being here at Championship Weekend. When you became the coach of the Glory in 2021, and obviously you had coached Pro Ultimate before and Major League Ultimate, can you talk about the trajectory of the team and the journey that y'all have had to go from a couple underachieving seasons to being a playoff team, to being in the East Final, to now being here?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that. I mean, I didn't I didn't have a full appreciation for when we started for what the trajectory was going to look like. But obviously attendance, practice attendance, game attendance is a huge portion of being a team, and the consistency you have of having same players week in and week out, and it took several years for us to get that consistency, but it's been, I think this year it's been, in particular, it's been really nice. We've got, we were talking about this the other day, we've got probably like everybody in New England that, well, that's an exaggeration. There's a few like Southwestern New England guys in Empire, but most of the guys in our area we want on the team. I mean, this is Boston's best, and this is and they show up, and yeah. So I mean, it's not a surprise that when Boston shows up, we have a nationally competitive team.
On that note, it feels like you guys had perhaps your best roster for the East Division Championship game. It feels like you've got more options in your lineup than ever before.
Yeah.
What were the toughest 1 or 2 active 20 decisions you had to make coming into this weekend?
Oh, I don't want to single any guys out. I will say, if you look at our playing history and our rostering history, there are guys that did not roster for the last playoff game and are not going to roster today, that have rostered every game in their lives up to this point. So, it's something as a human you hate doing. As a coach, it's great to have those options, but the human aspect of it is and it's difficult because part of being a successful athlete is you have a ton of confidence in yourself, and we got 30 guys who think they're top 20 guys, and truthfully, I think they'd be easily top 20 guys for most teams in the league. But that's just part, and we got to draw a line at 20.
Yeah. Not asking you specific personnel questions anymore. I'm curious about, if you go back to the East Division Championship game, we saw Babbitt complete the most passes he's ever completed in a UFA game. We saw his kind of utilization evolve over the course of the season. Started maybe a little more downfield on O at the start of the season.
Yep.
Then with his dealing with some injury, played a lot more D, and
Yep.
then he comes back and gets all those touches in the East Division Championship game. How much of the way you utilized him in that game was predetermined, this is where we think our greatest strength is, and how much of that was like Jeff just adapting to, this is what the best option is for us in the moment?
So I'm not going to go anything we're doing today, but I will say, he's a two-time MVP, and every part of his game is outstanding, and so it's really nice to have someone of that size and decision making and throwing ability that can come back in the handler space when asked to, that can be downfield when asked to. Whatever we ask him to do, it's going to be outstanding. So it's I know Nathan and Jake, our O-line coaches, are like, what a wonderful chess piece to have.
Sam, you've spent the last couple weeks studying the Salt Lake Shred, presumably. Not a team that you've ever crossed paths with before. What stands out most watching the film? What do you expect tonight? How do you beat them?
First thing that stands out is we've only played East Division opponents this year, and there's just such a distinct style that's very different that the Shred play. As well as Atlanta and Minnesota. It's just there's going to be some real adaptations for the handler patterns, the cutter patterns, some of the defenses. So they do stuff differently, and we're trying to plan for that. But it's in terms of what stands out for them when they're on the field. The conditioning is our guys hit the track hard. We're in shape, but they don't get tired. So it helps that they're all like 23. But they don't get tired. That stands out, and they've just got a ton of very good players that are going to draw some tough matchups from us, but deservedly so.
Hey, Coach. Welcome to Breeze.
Thanks.
So one of the things that I'm interested in is that it's so difficult for teams coming to championship weekend for the first time to make it through into the finals and to win.
Yeah.
What do you, as coaches and as leaders, captains, it's got to be so valuable having people like Babbitt, having people like Brendan McCann who have been in the hot seat, have been in the big moments before.
Yeah.
But how do you coach the younger players who've never been here before? And how do you prepare for something like Breeze, which is going to get raucous?
You think it's going to get rocky? Yeah, this place is awesome, huh?
Oh, and it's going to get better.
Is it? Yeah. All these people here are going to be, this is like the beer garden?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, Coach.
Jeez. It's going to be fun.
Welcome to Breeze.
Yeah. How do you coach that? Truthfully, we've left some of it to Jeff and Ethan and our captains and some of our leaders, but I think we talked about jitters, and there's going to be jitters before the game. I think hearing the vets talk, they say they get the jitters during the week, and jitters are fine, right? They get them during the week, and then once the game starts, it's fine. The scary thing is the people who get the jitters in like the third quarter. So I don't know how you coach that, except we're just going to try to keep the same mentality we've had. We most of these guys have never, many of these guys have never been in a divisional championship game, because we have several new bodies this year. We were able to just keep it focused and play 4 quarters a couple weeks ago, and that's the goal today.
Yeah, speaking about the game against DC, it was a clinical performance, as dominant as we've seen against a good team in a long time in the league. You got some players back who've only played a couple games in the season.
Yeah.
Peter Borth, Oscar Graf. How is it having those guys coming to the D-line?
Yeah.
players we know can make a real impact, and then appeared to do so in the game. Like, did you notice the difference as a coach in terms of just like the performance on the field and maybe your flexibility in terms of lineups?
No doubt.
To have all those players at your disposal for the first time really all season.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll add Gus Heflin to that, a guy
Yes.
who, I mean, just returned from Hawaii a couple of weeks ago and comes out in the playoff game, gets our first block, and scores our first goal for our D-line. Yeah, and throughout the course of the season, we had the luxury of having a number of guys that had some pretty decent nicks that we could sit and get back to full health, and that's made a big difference. But you're right. I mean, the lineup we're packing today is we got a couple guys nicked up that are not in the lineup today, but it's pretty much our best.
All right, Sam, unless you want to take a shot at the Hodags, I think we're ready to let you go.
I love my Wisconsin guys. It's you know, Malachi, who he's just here. Yeah, Malachi right over there, Middlebury, and winner of the
Be the change.
Yeah, Be the Change award, and great guy who was unfortunately injured this year, but still was able to like make a great impact on our community. And let's be clear about what the Boston community means to our team, because if you look at our roster, nearly every player on our roster played high school or college ultimate in New England. We are a homegrown team, with maybe we import a Belgian or two or an Italian guy, but you know, Malachi was commenting that his D3 team, Middlebury, had a higher ranking than the Hodags this year, which we found fascinating. And so then we were hypothesizing, how well will the Hodags do at D3 Nationals? No, I'm just asking a question. Semis is what I said.
Yeah, maybe. Sam, this is devolving quick, and I'm responsible for that. Thank you, and best of luck tonight.
All right, thank you.
We'll bring in two-time reigning MVP Jeff Babbitt, if Jeff is near. Jeff? Colin's going to get plenty of time on the microphone later tonight to snap back. All right, Jeff Babbitt, thanks for being here. Congrats on being back at championship weekend. You know, we didn't ask Sam at all really about Toba, and I'm curious to ask you, what were your first impressions when Toba came to the team, and what was it like kind of adding him and trying to maximize his abilities this year for the Glory?
Tobe, go away. You don't need to hear this. Good. I got exposed to him last year on Dig Together, so you know, I already knew he was a really incredible player. And then he moved to 5 minutes from my house, and we've worked out every single day together, and I just got to watch him both already be a really incredible player, but grow a ton in maturity over this, you know, 4-month season. And I think he's one of the best players in the world already, and he's 22 years old.
Jeff, I tried to ask your coach about this. I don't know if you'll be interested in sharing any thoughts. Probably not, yeah. When I think about the roles that you've filled for Boston over the course of this season, it seemed like earlier in the year you were starting a little more downfield on O. Mm-hmm. Then later as the year progressed, played a little more D, limited a little bit by shoulder. And then when you came to the East Division Championship game, you completed more passes than you ever had in your UFA career in a game, and you were hanging out a lot more around the disc. How much of that was like premeditated game plan, and how much of that was just adapting in the moment and you recognizing this is what's going to be most helpful for us right now?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that right now.
Okay.
We can talk about it after the championship.
Jeff, for me, you know, with your career trajectory, it's been interesting to watch for me. You know, it seems like wherever you go, success follows. Obviously, a lot of that is due to your skill, but I think a lot of it's due to your leadership too. I'd love to hear about what your thoughts are on leadership, your leadership style, and how you've kind of taken leadership roles on this Glory team over the last couple of years to get them to this point.
Yeah, I think that leadership is, you know, like the most important thing for success of a team, and something that I've reflected a lot upon over the past handful of years is when I was a young player, I was looking for leadership on teams like Boston Ironside to help grow me as a player. And I think in a lot of ways I was missing that, and that led me away from that team. And so I've tried to, as much as possible, be a leader for young players, help them develop their game, help them get to the maturity level much earlier than they're supposed to be. You know, we got 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds on this team that are super mature, making the right game time decisions, and helping get guys there in a constructive and positive way, I think, is going to lead to success on any team.
When I look at the Shred on tape as an opponent, I think their speed and their endurance really stand out. I'm curious what kind of like the defining characteristics are of the Shred when you think about them as an opponent, and what you think is most important for the Glory to do to counter those strengths.
Yeah, you know, I've gotten to see the Shred a handful of times now over the past few years. They're a, you know, very athletic, fast, high energy, high paced team. I think we're going to play our style. We're going to slow down the game so they can't be comfortable. And we just know that they're coming for every block. Every guy on that D line lays out all the time, and some of that's just like a scare tactic maybe to get in your head, and some of that is they're coming, and we're just going to be ready for that.
Jeff, what's the ideal number of points for you to play in a game like tonight, knowing that you have another game coming tomorrow?
I'll play every single point. It doesn't matter how many.
How motivating was it for you personally to miss championship weekend last year after having been here and dominating for so many years with New York?
That's an interesting question. I love being here. I think this is one of the most fun weekends in all of Ultimate Frisbee. I was really excited at the talent and the youth on Boston to try and get this team over the hump into championship weekend, and I think that we have a lot of potential and a really good opportunity here ahead of us, and I was really excited to get us here.
I'm just curious about maybe how your training or approach to this season differed relative to previous seasons. I mean, you could tell you're a little leaner, obviously still got a huge frame, but like, was that intentional? How much thought and premeditation went into that? And what have you noticed about your own ability to perform as a result of that?
Yeah, this offseason I sort of dedicated myself to get in, the best conditioning I have in a long time. I think that I'm a little bit smaller than I was, but I'm getting older. I'm 31 now. I've been playing for a decade in this league, and the miles are adding up. And I think being, a little bit lighter on my feet has helped a lot. And I feel like I could literally play every point in the game and be effective through every point.
All right, Jeff, we'll let you go. Thank you very much for your time. Best of luck tonight.
Thank you all.
Where did Toba go? Running a few minutes behind, but that's to be expected. Interesting perspective from these guys, and excited to have the 2024 UFA Rookie of the Year, Tobe Decraene. His first season with the Boston Glory after 1 year with the Montreal Royale. Toba, welcome to Championship Weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
What's it feel like to be here?
It's amazing. It's nice to see the venue in real life, and I'm just happy to be here with the team and experience everything that Championship Weekend is going to offer us.
When you think about the season that you've had, from the moment you decided to join Boston, what has stood out most to you about the roller coaster ride of this year with this team, the success you had for most of the season, a couple bumps down the stretch, and then obviously a great performance in the East Final? What stands out the most to you about this whole experience?
I think the mental switch this team can make from having a little a performance that's a little under our expectation the last couple of games to then turning it on and the division final and just winning with a very convincing score against DC. I think that's something that I'll keep with me if I think about this team.
That was kind of like my biggest point of skepticism or doubt coming into the East Division Championship game. You guys started the regular season so hot and obviously dealt with some injuries and other availability challenges down the stretch and obviously weren't necessarily at your strongest. How were you guys able to just snap back into that truly elite form when your season was on the line?
Yeah, I think during practices, during calls we had, we were always thinking and like talking about the one game we wanted to play, and that was the division final. So I think we like lived up to that game almost like 6 weeks in advance. Once we knew we had the first seed, so I think it was just a long build-up, and then we were able to perform when it came down to it. So I think the long build-up helped with our performance.
Tobe, do you remember when you first learned about the UFA, then the AUDL? And I'm curious to hear a little bit about your backstory, you know, learning about Ultimate, learning about this league, aspiring to play in it. Like, what are your memories watching pro Frisbee in America as a kid back in Belgium?
Yeah, so I played pretty much since I was born. My whole family plays, so on family holidays it was just going on walks with the discs and throwing with my uncle, who was back then one of the best players in Belgium, so it was like looking up to him. And I think when I was 12 I got a phone and I discovered like people are doing this in front of crowds and like on nice fields with nice cameras, and I think that's the moment I wanted to get into like playing at a higher level. Back then the ADL, now the UFA, and I think ever since I was like 14, that's when I set my goals and like kind of changed my lifestyle a little bit, like to prepare myself to play here someday, and I'm here now.
So that's actually what I wanted to ask a little bit more about. Tell us a little bit about what that higher level of commitment, that higher level of fitness and training, what does that look like for you, and what about the UFA do you like so much that like drives you to make that higher commitment?
Yeah, so in Belgium we only had like 2 club practices a week, and when I knew I wanted to play at a higher level, I knew it was going to take more than just the 2 practices, so I started going to the gym, doing extra field workouts. A lot of that was on my own because not a lot of people wanted to join, and then combining it with school was difficult, so sometimes waking up at 5 in the morning, going to the gym before school, going to the field after school. So it took a lot of commitment, but it all paid off, and I think that's why I did it in the end. So yeah.
It's no surprise that you guys have a height advantage in this game. We heard a bunch about it from the other coaches. I'm really curious to know, how is it playing on a team where you're really asked not to maybe huck as much, or maybe even be that deep receiver to receive hucks, compared to roles that you play on other teams in your career where, you know, you're such a dangerous target both as a thrower and as a receiver? Just I'd love to hear about, like, what do you have to make a mental switch, or does it just feel different playing in this offense?
I think it's like different in a sense that I always just want to help the team be as best as possible, and if it means in this team not hooking and not going deep as often or receiving it as deep as often, I think that's what I'm willing to do to make this team better. It's different than other teams I've played on, but I don't necessarily like it less. I like winning, so everything that helps to get the win is what I'm willing to do.
What preoccupies your mind when you think about the Shred as an opponent, like an individual player, collective skill set? Like what sticks out from them to you?
I'm lucky to be on the offense, so I don't think about them too much. I think about my own game, and I try to not think about who's in front of me, because I feel confident I can be better than whoever's in front of me if I play my own game. So I'm focused on my own game, and I think if I'm able to bring my own game, I'll get the better of the matchup. So that's all I'm thinking about.
Will there be a watch party back in Ghent tonight?
Yeah, there are a couple watch parties. My parents are holding one, and then a couple of friends from my club team in Belgium.
Like, how many people are we talking about?
I have no idea. I think maybe 20 to 30.
Okay.
Not that many. It starts at midnight, so
It's when the best parties start.
I don't know about that.
Was it surprising to you in the East Final against DC that you all were able to be as patient as you were and take as good care of the possession that you did?
I think it was surprising for the people watching the game. I don't think it was necessarily as surprising for the players playing, just because that's one of the things we worked on in practice quite a lot in the last couple of weeks leading up to the game. So to me, it wasn't that much of a surprise. I can imagine for the people who watched our highlights of us just hucking it all the time in the beginning of the season, they might have been a surprise. But yeah, we knew that was the game plan.
What's it been like training with Jeff Babbitt every single day of the season?
I hope he's not listening because he doesn't want to hear when I talk about him. But it's awesome. Obviously, in my opinion, he's the greatest to ever do it. So the chance for me to be able to train with him on a daily basis is huge. Going back to like the commitment, what it takes to play on a higher level, I think that's something that's so valuable. Seeing what it takes from one of the best and how he trains and being able to mimic it and training with him at the same time is huge. And I'm very grateful that I can train with him every day.
What have you learned about like training that maybe you weren't doing when you were in Montreal or elsewhere, that you're like, hey, I've seen Jeff do this, I got to make this a part of my routine going forward?
Yeah, his approach to training is quite a lot different than I used to do. I think it also has something to do with age maybe. I'm always very enthusiastic to go hard in training sessions. Sometimes he's like, okay, now you need to stop running, like we have a game in 2 days. We're just gonna throw and do some small drills. And at the moment, like, I'm learning how to maybe do similar style training as him and not being as intense all the time. So that's one thing I'd say I've learned from him, definitely.
All right, Toba, it's awesome having you here at Championship Weekend. Best of luck tonight, and enjoy it.
Thank you.
All right, that's the first semifinal, and we'll bring up the head coach of the Atlanta Hustle, Tuba Benson-Jaja, as he leads the South Division champs against the Minnesota Wind Chill. Brett Hulsmeyer and Michael Fairley will follow in a little bit.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Tuba.
Take a picture of y'all because I know some of y'all have some crazy questions. They write some stuff about us.
Tuba, welcome to Championship Weekend as a head coach for the first time. You've been here as an analyst, as a broadcaster. The journey that you've been on as a coach over the last decade, going back to Florida, what does it feel like to be here, to be getting ready to play the semifinals?
Feels fabulous. I'm ecstatic to be here. Yeah, it has been something I've been wanting to be able to get here at this level as a coach. As a player, I was able to reach all the different levels and get all the different things along the way. But I think for me, being able to pour into guys, coach guys, and then help them kind of realize their full potential has been a big goal for me. So I'm super excited to be here. And even though I will be on the sidelines looking real solemn and chill, like internally, like I am like that kid who is like, fabulously thankful and grateful for being here. So yeah.
Obviously, Minnesota got the better of you guys in the regular season. What's the biggest learning from that particular matchup that stuck with you?
Yeah, I mean, they may have got the better of us. They didn't get our best, right? I mean, we were missing about 6 of our top players, including probably, I think, 4 of our starters on offense. I mean, you add in Jeremy Langdon. You take out Ryan Flick, who's, up and coming, but he's not Christian Olsen, right? Brett had a concussion probably in that game when he was doing a lot of things that were just not doing Brett-like things in that game. He got injured on the hit that he took there were just a lot of little things. That said, Minnesota's a great team, so we have taken away just not underestimating our opponents. I think we across the board are a better team than they are, but they do have a lot of grit and fight in our championship pedigree team. Sorry about that. And yeah, we're looking forward to the game today.
Tuba, it's great seeing you up there instead of down here with us. You know, when I look at your team, I think it's easy. I mean, I feel like analytics isn't like a big thing in Ultimate yet, but like if you look at your team from an analytics perspective, it's like efficiency just jumps off the charts immediately. You're first in a lot of the major categories from a team perspective. I know you talked about that, you know, when we were talking a couple of years ago at Championship Weekend. You're focused on that. What's it like to see that, you know, finally kind of come to fruition for this team, and how has that led into the success, and how do you see that, you know, how do you envision that propelling you into further success this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, all of y'all are here players, right, and play different sports, and you know that, like, I think the DNA of like any successful team is hard work. And that was one of the first things when I took over 3 years ago. I said we're going to be one of the hardest working teams. So that went back to, you know, I looked at what you know, Coach Kerr did with the Warriors, where he took them back and said, hey, we're going to start with fundamentals, and we're going to just go back to the basics of stuff that you should have did when you were, you know, playing, you know, pee-wee basketball, right, and football and all those things. And so we did that with Ultimate. We said we're gonna do, you know, proper throwing techniques, work on all your different release points, catching. If you could just drop the disc less than other teams, like the basics, right? And I think that just put us at a new standard where we were, you know, I think it increased certain things, and then each year we've just looked at different places where we can increase and get better, instead of focusing on all the negative stuff or, hey, we could have, you know, what we didn't do. Like, how do we increase our strengths? How do we maybe bring in pieces like other players, other coaches to fill in gaps that we might have? And it's at least got us here, and I think it's put us in a good position to only have to worry about winning one game right now, right? Like all we're worried about is one game. We're worried about right now the guys are going through the process of the day to make sure when we play that game we're putting, you know, our best game on the field.
You mentioned dropping the disc less and the basics of Ultimate, and that's something Minnesota has struggled with early in games in the last 2 rounds. Is there an extra emphasis on, you know, putting the pedal to the metal right away in the game to get out to a big lead to prevent Minnesota from coming back, which obviously they did in the 2 previous rounds?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say the emphasis is we're hoping that they do that with us, right? Like what we've noticed with a lot of teams is we watch game film, and then when they come play us, they play statistically some of their best game. And so a lot of our MO this year has been, don't, you know, what we see on field on the screen when we watch game film, don't anticipate that that's going to be exactly what they bring. This is a championship caliber team. We're not caliber, they're a championship team, right? Like they won the championship last year. We respect them as the defending champions. We realize we're going to have to take it away from them, and part of that is making sure that if they give us the disc in the beginning of the game, that we're able to go up in that game. And we've done pretty good at sustaining leads, or at least not, you know, crumbling a little bit when a team comes back. We know it's a game of ebb and flow, so we're going to punch, they're going to punch back, we're going to punch again, we're going to punch back, and we just hope that we're the last ones punching at the end and come out on top.
For so many teams.
What do you got for me? Let's go, because the stuff you say, let's go.
Are you ready? Okay,
yeah.
Here we go.
All right, come on.
For so many teams, getting to championship weekend, there's a different kind of pressure playing here in semis and finals. But for a team like Atlanta that's had so many hardships just getting here, do you feel like, you know, you, the coaches, the players, actually feel a little bit of a weight off here?
100%. I feel so much more relaxed right now than I did going into the San Diego game. You know, one, we knew San Diego a lot better than I think we knew Minnesota, and really respect them as a team, and knew that they potentially could take us out from winning that game. That's number one. Number two, you know, there's a lot of talk about like us being a team that chokes. At the end of the day, we've only been at this point, this is our 6th playoff appearance, right, or even game. So we, looking at a lot of the other teams that have made it here, won all those things, they were like 9 and 10. You know, you look at New York, it was like 10 years, right? You look at Minnesota, a lot of years. When you look at, you know, Boston, a lot of years. DC took a lot of years just to get here, right? So when I look at that, I don't listen to a lot of you talking heads, you know, with the stuff you guys say. I look at the actual data, and the data tells me that we're right where we should be for what the program has been doing. I feel really chill. I probably got to make sure that I inject a little bit, let some of the adrenaline dump into me a little bit, because I feel like I'm on some type of gummies or something right now. But I think it's because I was so angst going into the game, for the division championship. I mean, like I mentioned, I was balling on the sideline. I didn't go through the shake hands line because I was like, I'm not letting all these dudes see me like over here crying. But I was balling because it's been a long time coming, and it means a lot, and I pour a lot into it, and I know my guys do too. So, yep.
Tuba, I know you put a lot into the mental conditioning for your team in so many different ways. Pressure situations, two of your best players, in my opinion, Brett and Hayden, did not have their best games in the South Final. What has it been like preparing them to have their best games tonight? What do you expect from those two guys leading your offense?
I think just helping change their perspective on what a best game means, right? When you look at even the Minnesota game, Hayden, Justin, looked to have Hayden's number in that game. He had the most touches, 54 completions in that game, from a stat point of view. So if I'm going to get that from him, but then we have a few turnovers on the other side, I'm okay with that as a coach. What I'm not okay with is if he has that and then he starts to go into a deeper and further slump, and he's not able to produce, a D on a turn, right? Where there was a point where Hayden, has a drop from a hammer that was coming out of a double team. The disc goes up. Hayden, maybe 2 years ago, even last year, maybe puts his head down and says, I just had a drop, and they just go score, and that had been a massive momentum swing in that game. He puts his head down, he chases it down, he makes a bid, he doesn't hit the disc. Maybe a foul, maybe not, who knows? No foul called, we get to go down the other direction, right? So I think really just knowing that at the end of the day, our word for the whole season has been resilience. I don't need my guys to be perfect, right? We didn't play a perfect game in the semifinals. In the division finals. In games that we played perfect games, against Carolina last year in the finals, we lost that game, right? So for really those guys, I just need them to be themselves, have a blast out here. This is the first of many times these guys are going to be at this stage, right? We're just getting started as a program. So there's not this pressure that we got to come out here and play this perfect game and win. They're 2 of 20 of a program. You've seen our roster, and you've seen guys who left off of our roster who probably should be on the roster. We're building, I think, a team that can come out here, compete at least, and then if we win it, great, right? If we don't win it, we'll be back here next year. Sorry, I know you're coming for us next year, Coach, but we'll be back here next year.
Before I let you go, I know it means a lot to you to be a person of color and to bring that diversity into the sport, and I know you have leaned into that with your team in every way, racially, culturally. Yep. I'm just wondering if you can talk about what that has meant and how that has brought your team closer together.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that question. It's been really important for me. I think representation matters on all levels, right? I think for me, when I first started playing the sport, I would go to nationals, and I would look across, and there are literally 4 people of color, and we all know each other, right? And I'm not even talking about black. I'm just talking about people of color, right? And so just having a stage where, now you look across and you see the Malachis, you see the Justins, you see Pollock. There's a lot of people. Even on our team, we have, African American, we've got Asian. I've always had, at least one lady on my coaching staff. I make that to be a point, right? Because I think, the work Coach Abby has done with the mental conditioning has been literally phenomenal for our team, right? And I think there's so many things that the diversity brings to our team. It's who ATL is, Atlanta. We are a mosh podge of just different types of people. And so I love seeing everything from the prayer circle to the people who are kneeling because they hate the flag. All the different things, right? Which is hard for me. I'm a former Marine, and so I love standing no matter what, all the good, the bad, the ugly. But I do appreciate the diversity, and I appreciate the fact that this sport allows it, celebrates it, and gives a platform, right, to be able to say, hey, as an African-American coach, I was born in Nigeria. You can play a sport that you're probably not supposed to be playing because I'm supposed to be playing soccer, and, come up here and eventually coach a team. I've got my son back here who's, able to see me do all the different things and be around the guys, be around that diversity. And so it's really important for me, not only as a coach to push that, but also to make sure that he gets to see that too. Yep.
Awesome. Great stuff. Thank you so much, Tuba.
Yeah, be nice to us, please, no matter what happens.
Good luck tonight.
Yeah, thank y'all.
All right, Brett Hulsmeyer will make the trek up to the stage. Morning, Brett.
Morning, Evan. How's it going?
It's going great.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah?
Happy to be here. you know?
What does it feel like to be here?
Feels great, you know. Would have been a weird morning to wake up and like go to work today, you know, knowing that we had lost again. So it feels really nice to have been on that plane ride last night and, waking up in a hotel, nothing to do but play Frisbee today.
Obviously, 4 really good teams here. I feel like any of the 4 could win it.
Yeah.
What's your mindset coming into this weekend and attacking Minnesota tonight, and then thinking about a quick turnaround tomorrow and what you guys need to do to walk out of here with a trophy?
Yeah, I mean, tonight we're expecting them to play their best game of the season. I think that tends to happen to us, unfortunately. I would love if teams came in and played bad games against us, but it doesn't really happen. So I fully expect them to play their best game of the season, and I think we're ramping up in like a different way this year than we have in the past. I think we've had like peaks in the middle of the season. I think we actually had like a valley in the middle of this season where we lost 3 in a row. Like we're like building back up to this point that like I don't even think we've reached yet. And then, as far as the 2 days is concerned, I mean, we're ready for that. I mean, we've been playing club for our whole lives, been playing we had 3 doubleheaders. We had a weekend this year with 2 games in 1 day. We're ready to play, as long as it takes 12 quarters if it has to be, that'd be fun.
When you think back on the regular season matchup against Minnesota, what's kind of the biggest learning that has stuck with you from that game?
I think we were kind of at a weird point offensively in that game where we kind of like went away from our identity as like this team that is like going to like take risk and like trust in ourselves to like succeed at taking that risk. And like in that game we really shied away from risk, which at the end of the day, I think the way people like feel about offense in Frisbee is very different from like what the actual numbers say. Like as an offense, like I think we were first in the league scoring like 61% of the time, which doesn't feel that often. It really doesn't. It feels like you're like, oh, I should go out there and score every time. They're giving us the Frisbee. So I think like trusting in ourselves to, do that this weekend and like, again, hopefully slightly less windy than that game, so it's a little higher percentage.
You're one of the longest tenured players on this team, so obviously you've seen a lot of the ups and downs and changes, people coming in, people leaving. I'd love to kind of get your perspective on the journey over the last 4 to 5 years that's kind of got this team to this spot and what it's meant to you and what it's your perspective on that whole journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, my first game, we ran 3 lines, no offense and defense, just 3 lines. And now it's a little different than that. Then we transition to this team that's like plays zone in person, every alternating point, and every team knows we're about to do that. And now we've run like 4 or 5 zone points in the whole year. So I think we just kind of come on this journey of like, all right, here's what we have to work with every year as players. We can use our tools. Like had some really smart people on the mark, so we ran zone a lot. Now we're like kind of more this well-rounded team that can do everything. So we have guys who are fluid between offense and defense, and we huck a lot, which was not the identity when I first started. We had like an offense that was like, Matt, Smith, Christian, Austin, and like I think JP Burns was the tallest player on our offense like my first year. So,
Obviously, you guys want to focus on what's in front of you, and you're gunning for the trophy. But how much has it played an impact in the back of your mind of wanting the revenge on Minnesota, wanting the revenge on Justin, your former teammate, and then also knowing that you guys weren't at full strength in that first game? How much does that the revenge piece play in the back of your guys' mind?
I mean, it certainly plays a factor. Like, not huge though, I don't think. I mean, you know, I hate losing, so I want to win, you know, but I don't think like there's any, you know, animosity with them. And like, yeah, I mean, with Justin especially, I think Justin wants me to say right now, oh, I'm gunning for Justin. But no, I mean, you know, he's going to play a great game. We are too. And, you know, it's like kind of comes down to like individual moments.
So I'll build off of that. If Minnesota's going to throw different defenders at you, like who would you like for them to assign to you? Like who's a fun matchup for you and why?
I don't know. I think I was expecting to get Justin some in our last game, but it makes a little sense because like Justin is more trying to like make plays, and I think I like maybe just run around a lot more than he would want. So I don't know. I think that's like, for me, I like, I don't know. I haven't keyed in on any matchups this year as much as I have in the past, where I've been like, ooh, how do I like take advantage of this person? I think it's like, I think about it more on the opposite side because I am playing some defense of like, who am I going to guard? Who am I going to do that to? Rather than like, who's going to try and mess me up.
You were selected as an alternate for the U.S. national team for the World Games. You played a lot with the team at the London Invite, at various practice weekends. What was that experience like for you, and do you feel like you grew at all as a player in any way, playing with some of the best players in the U.S.?
For sure. I mean, like with that team in the tryouts, and then especially in all the practices, like the level of defense you have to play with is like unlike any other Frisbee you play. I mean, like especially for the man matching players, like it's a mixed field where you are expected to help. You're also expected to like lock down your person. You have to like cover so much space and like deny your person as well. I mean, I think like offensively, yes, but it is mixed, so it's a different game than we're about to play this weekend. But defensively, it's so much more responsibility and awareness. I think it like really pushed me there to like I think of defense a lot as like how many possible things can I be thinking about at the same time? Like, can I be thinking about, oh, is this like, what's this person's favorite throw? You know, how's this person gonna jab? Where's the other people on the field? You know, and it like really tests your brain to like calculate all of that like instantly.
Last question, Brett. Buzzer beaters are always important at championship weekend. You guys have been one of the best teams in the league. Is that how has that skill progressed? Because obviously buzzer beaters have hurt at times in the past. What goes through your mind when you're out on the field, you know, on an O or D with 5, 10, 15 seconds to go in a quarter?
Yeah, I mean, in 23 we were truly terrible at buzzer beaters. Like, you know, I think we like, you know, lost like it was a ridiculous number in a row where they just were going out of bounds. We were getting scored on. And I think now we're like focused on like, okay, what like can we do? Like we're gonna try and get the ball to half field. We're gonna like try and hit this space, you know, like it's you know, and more focused on like, you know, what can we do, not necessarily like who comes down with a gigantic 50-50. Because like, you know, you come up with those sometimes you don't. So I think like, you know, trying to like do the things we can do with that. Yeah.
Good stuff. Brett, best of luck tonight. Congrats on being here.
Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Big audience for the Brett Hulsmeyer press conference. Maybe they're here for the Michael Fairley session.
That ain't true.
One of the captains of the Hustle, Michael Fairley, coming off big game in the South Division final. You've been a guy grinding for a long time with Tuba down in Florida. What's it feel like to be here in Madison at Bryce Stevens Field with the Atlanta Hustle?
It's incredible. Very excited to be here. It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of anguish, a lot of tears over the last couple of years. You know, losing 21 through 24 by 1 goal each time to not make it to the playoffs or championship weekend is tough, but it's 10 years of work for me. I think Tuba's coached me for 5 of those seasons, and so it's just a lot of hard work that's gone into this, and I'm so excited to share with all of these guys who are definitely younger than me, and hopefully set the standard for the rest of the time for the Atlanta Hustle.
I know, obviously, you played Ultimate for a long time. You've coached Ultimate as well. Like, how much of your life is spent thinking about Frisbee? And with that as the context, like, to be here on this stage, knowing that you're in your 30s, I know you just got married. Congratulations on that. Like, who knows how many more years you have left?
Mm-hmm.
Like, was there a different sense of urgency and a different hunger this year?
I guess first I'll shout out my wife, Erica, who's an incredible athlete in her own right, basketball, tennis, all of that. And we had a kind of a conversation after some of my injuries in 2022 and 23, in which she said to me, if I had the opportunity to play a sport at this level, at this age, I would do it until my body couldn't do it anymore, right? And it kind of awoke something in me of saying, like, I have this incredible gift and opportunity to have a lot of my best friends on this team, some people I've played or coached with, 10 years. And so that's allowed me to be freed up in that perspective, right? And I also think, in terms of a different mindset this year, it's been the same for us and for me personally, regardless of how much time I have left after, this weekend playing in the UFA. I think it's just really about, going all in, not being scared of failure, because, the UFA media can't call us chokers if we choke one more time, right? So they've already done that enough, specifically on the UFA podcast where, actually Ultiworld, where Charlie said that Atlanta is a doomed city that doesn't deserve anything. So I remember that one.
Was that all you got on that one?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
I figured. Incredible defensive performance in the South Division Championship game. Are you at liberty to share what you said to Travis Dunn when you got that tone-setting hand block in the first half?
I'll just say that I got a couple group texts that said, "Talk your trash, Fairley." That's all I'll say. Travis is an incredible player, a legend in the league. I'm very happy Kayla wasn't there coaching, because I think that game's vastly different if she's there. But yeah, I think I watched a lot of film on Travis, the lean back flick, and I got lucky that kind of visualizing that over the course of the week, something Tuba's helped me with over the last 5 years, visualizing that before, I was able to actually execute on that. And so Travis is an incredible player, and it was a great matchup all game, and I got the best of him this time, but it could be a 50-50 next time we play who gets that. So
what do you think is going to be the key for your defense kind of replicating that level of intensity and efficiency against Minnesota tonight?
I think we need to put them in situations that are going to make them uncomfortable. I think they are a very talented team, especially at championship weekend from last year. They have a bunch of players that are talented over the last couple years, right, or decade in Matt Rader, and they're very well coached by Ben Feldman and the staff. So I think we need to put them in a position to be uncomfortable with the disc, kind of disconnect their handlers and cutters, and then ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to come in waves, right? I think for us over the course of the season, we see that our breaks come in groups of 3 or 4. And I think Minnesota has the ability to give up breaks in 3 or 4, if you look at their first couple Chicago games. So our goal is the longer, like New York and DC, if we keep our O-line on the field a lot in the first half, I think that's going to pay dividends in the 3rd and 4th quarter, where we can kind of take the game away from them.
It was striking to me looking at the statistics for your D-line. Like, when you guys get the disc, you're really efficient at punching it in. But in terms of the number of blocks you get and the number of chances you create, it is far fewer than the other top teams here. Why do you think that is?
We had 10 of our 13 games against the top 8 offenses in the league. Minnesota had 6 games against the 3 bottom offenses in the league. I think that speaks for itself in terms of you got to play the Carolina Flyers 4 times, and Alan Laviolette deserves an MVP for that performance he put on this season. So, yeah, it's really hard to play the teams we did and play them also, 8 games in a month. There's not a lot of time to scout in between that, and so we are growing over the course of the season, and that's the goal, right? It would have been great to beat Minnesota in week 6 or whatever week that was, but we knew when you get here and we have the full team, right, we're excited about the opportunity.
This may be an alley-oop pass, but how do you feel the schedule that you played this year prepares you for this moment tonight?
Yeah, I mentioned it to you in an earlier Tuesday toss. Is, a lot of our heartbreak over the last couple seasons, we've lost, I think, 7 games in the regular season over the last 3 years, and haven't lost a home game. And so, a lot of that adversity that we get for the first time is ultimately in the divisional championship game, right? And having that Midwest weekend where we kind of got punched in the mouth by Minnesota in their defense, and then the Chicago game, a game we should have honestly won twice, and lose in double overtime. It was a heartbreaker, but it's like, if you experience that earlier in the season, then the first time you kind of face adversity is divisional championship or championship weekend. I think it prepares us well for that, and I think it has our entire team in depth, ready for that. These guys with the absences of me for most of the season, and Michael Poe for some of the season, right? Like, people are getting different matchups, and so we're kind of very versatile on the defensive aspect.
Do you think this is the best hustle team that has taken the field for a season?
Without a doubt, yes. I think this team is deep on so many different levels of people that can slot in on O, slot on D. Sean Knoll for this Salt Lake team that's practicing, he was the center handler for multiple years, and now he's a hybrid cutter for us, right? Adam Miller, the luxury to take one of our best defensive players, put him on the O-line, and then having the depth of defensive talent that we have, right? We're making a 20 for our team is, I'm still sweating bullets even as a captain that Tuba's going to put my name on the list, the top 20. So we're very lucky to have that, and I think it also makes our practices as hard as some of these games that we play.
Last thing, can you give us an example of Tuba time, his Marine background that helped to mentally or physically prepare this team?
I hate to say this with him right behind you, but Tuba softened up a little bit over the years. I do remember one after a home game against Dallas where we handed them their first loss in program history in Jacksonville. We did up downs in about a foot of water at the beach the next day. But now it's a lot of kind of, Tuba time at the end of practice and mini camps is a lot of sprints, suicides, bear crawls, anything that he finds on Instagram that looks like a punishment, he throws it to us. And I think the big part is that, at the end of practice, we got to push a little bit more to make sure that we're good in the fourth quarter overtimes if possible. But it's a lot about the bonding with the team of going through that, lifting each other up through that process, and becoming closer as a unit. So it could be anything you name, but up downs in a foot of water or 100 yards of bear crawls 7 times, that'll get you after the end of a big weekend.
Great stuff. Michael Fairley, thank you so much. Best of luck
Thank you,
tonight. All right, 3 down and 1 team to go. We'll bring in Ben Feldman, the head coach of the Minnesota Windchill, as he walks through an army of Atlanta dudes to get to the stage.
We full body on this or what? My legs showing?
I don't think your legs are showing. No, you're not. Would you like us to zoom out? Ben, welcome back to championship weekend. Last year it was you and the Breeze and the Flyers and the Cascades, and none of them are here and you're back, so that's
we survived.
A heck of an accomplishment. How did y'all survive to get back here after all that you endured during the season?
Well, the simple answer is we performed in the big moment again when we needed to, which is obviously that game down in Chicago was one for the probably the record books with respect to just as a coach, one of the craziest games I've ever been a part of the back and forth nature. But we've suffered a lot of heartbreak down in Chicago through the years, and so I told the guys winning a title last year was pretty special, but that game down in Chicago felt very good in a very similar way. And so we come to championship weekend this year feeling kind of like we did last year, playing with house money, and we think we're the underdogs, embracing that, and we're excited to try to do something special again this year.
I don't think anyone here doubts the ability of your defense, your collective group as a whole, to kind of defy the odds and find a way and play with grit. I know I've publicly been skeptical about your offense's consistency. Can you make the case on why we should be believing in your O-line coming into this weekend?
Yeah. We don't need anyone to believe in the wind chill, is what I'd say first off. But no, we've been forward. We think as a team, we think we've been making some good strides on the offensive side of the ball, and the group of guys we got out here, we got 15 of the 20 guys I think on the roster tonight had that experience from last year. We think that's to our benefit in the big moment in the spotlight, and we're familiar with this venue, but those guys are ready to play. They know what it takes. They know what it feels like. A lot of those guys anchoring that line know what it takes to win, and so as a coach, I got a lot of confidence in the moment that they're going to be ready to perform, and it's about peaking at the right time. So we've had our struggles. That's no different than what we displayed last year to get into this moment. So our fans are going to be ready to support us, and it's not going to be perfect. Teams are going to go on runs. We know that. There's no question we'll get ours, and they're going to get theirs. And just got to take one quarter at a time, embrace the moment, and have fun tonight. I think that's how we're going to play our best.
So kind of piggybacking on that offensive, discussion, I see that Quinn Snyder is active. He's only played in 3 games this year. At his best, he's one of the best downfield receivers in this league. What kind of impact do you expect to have him have on this game tonight?
Yeah. Quinn wasn't present for as many games this year, but he's been a part of our organization for a while. He's got strong relationships with a lot of guys in that group, and he's a gamer. And so, excited to have him out there on the field tonight. We think he can unlock another aspect of our offense that is helpful, and also take spread out some of the points with that offensive group as well to keep us fresh. It's not about just winning one game this weekend. To do what everyone wants to do here, you got to play 2 games and perform well in 2 games to reach the ultimate goal. And so as you go through the process, having another talented offensive player with experience is helpful. And so excited to see what Quinn can do. Obviously, we're going to feel out and fit him back in a little bit slowly as we get into the game tonight. And we all know what he's capable of. He's an extremely talented player, and excited to see what that's going to look like. And I know some guys out in that group are pretty excited to have him back on the field.
I feel like a lot of the external factors in this game are towards your guys' advantage, given the comfortability here. You guys call Bree Stevens a home away from home. It's well known in the Central Division, given the recent success against the Radicals. And then also you guys have the closest fans out of all these teams, and you're the only team repeating at championship weekend. How much does that play into the comfortability and kind of alleviates the weight off of your guys' shoulders coming in and trying to get 2 wins?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. This is as I go through as a coach, manager, owner of the team, like the thought of getting to play after having been at championship weekends here in the past and not playing, it's pretty special as a coach and owner to be able to bring the team here to just the iconic nature of the moments and the history and the pain and suffering we've gone through. I'll remind everyone, pre-COVID, this was not a friendly place for the wind chill. Coach Tim DeBile was very capable in demolishing the wind chill over a series of years, and so I'll tell you that I was here though, and when the Radicals won their first title, I was here as an owner, and there's a little bit about the Central Division getting the naysay and is a Central good, and do they deserve to be here? And so when the Radicals won that title back when they did, with some folks that we know here on the panel, it's a little bit of respect on the style, right? The defensive style and the grit, and maybe there's going to be turnovers. It might not be pretty, but we're going to find a way to win. And so was cheering them on, and so all those Radical fans out here who are going to be here tonight, I'm sure, maybe tuning in, I'll remind them, well, we've had our success in recent years. We went through a lot of pain and suffering from that franchise. The Radicals got their title. I know I was excited when they won that, just for divisional sake, and so I'm hoping, although I know there's maybe a little bit of bitterness to that, I think we're excited to represent the division, and hoping the fans that come out might like to see us do well, and just putting some respect on the Central as it should be. So, but yeah, we've had good success here. It's an awesome venue. The crowd's going to be amazing tonight. We're going with a whiteout, hoping we see a lot of white in the crowd, and this is why we do what we do. This is why we run the team. It's why we coach the team, why the guys play, and so we got like 40-some players here, reserves, practice players, contract. Everyone's here. This is why we do what we do, and I'm just excited to have this experience tonight for the guys.
Ben, talking about respect or lack thereof, does it bother you when you hear people in the Frisbee world say, oh, Minnesota won because of the wind?
No, I mean, it's funny. It's funny how that's talked about, because we play an outdoor sport, right? Well, there was an indoor venue at one point. I don't know if this sport will ever be indoors. I think that's what it makes great, outdoor ultimate, right? And the wind, right? And so what percentage of games that we play have wind, And maybe the clean, fun way to watch ultimate is it no wind, 0 miles per hour, but the teams who know how to perform in the wind, that's the majority of the time, right? Most games have some sort of wind or conditions or rain or heat, right? And so the teams that know how to navigate that, whether it's 95 degrees and humid and the disc is slipping out of your hands, or if it's 30-mile-per-hour winds, right? That's what it adds parity in the league, right? It allows teams to win in different ways, and so yeah, it's not going to be windy tonight. It happened to be windy at championship weekend. It was a little windy in Chicago. I've played in far worse. I don't know what you call windy. I have some experience in the wind myself, but it's a part of our sport, right? And the ups and downs, teams got to know how to capitalize on the moment, and so you can talk talent, but you can also talk grit, and you can talk coaching and strategy and how to navigate 95-degree heat, how to manage your players so they don't cramp in the end of the game. There's a lot of things that go with that. So, yeah, it doesn't bother me. Winning this year, if we do it, it's going to have to be a different way probably. And so, and that's what's exciting, right? Our guys are motivated. They hear the stuff. They listen. I listen to it. Does it bug me? No, I think we perform better as underdogs, so I don't want anyone to pick us. And so we're happy to take the dog status in tonight. Our guys embrace that, and they got a chip on their shoulder, and we got some new guys here who haven't been here that deserve to be here, and I know they're ready for the spotlight.
Coming into the game against Atlanta in the middle of the season, Atlanta was on a crazy tear to start the year, #1 offense. I don't think a lot of people had you even having a chance to win that game, and you did win that game. Now, obviously, they weren't at full strength, and we're months away from that game, but what do you take away from that game that you're going to want to bring into this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I talk about this, the amount of time we spend on watching footage and analytics and stats. Like, the great thing about coaching in this league, you have a lot of information and data and film at your fingertips, right? And so having played an opponent, we feel like the more tape we get on our own successes and failures against our opponents, the more dangerous we get. I think our team, with how we organize stuff and how we review film and data and analytics, we feel like we get more powerful as we go. And so having faced off against Atlanta and Salt Lake, it's exciting for us. One, coaches, it makes it a little bit easier, a little less time consuming, because we have a lot of the assets we want ready to go for some of that. But it's what makes it fun. It's what motivates the coaches. The players see that preparation, and I think it builds confidence when we have the delivery of what we bring back to our guys. And so, yeah, that game's nice. Atlanta was certainly missing some guys. I'll remind people too, we were missing some guys as well. And that hasn't, that's something to note. So we're bringing a couple more weapons to the battle tonight as well, just like they are, and it's going to be fun. Stage is set for something really special. We got some great storylines tonight. It's going to be a great games tonight for the league, and we'll be blessed if we have an opportunity to compete for a championship tomorrow. It's going to take some hard work tonight.
All right, Ben, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us. Best of luck tonight.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
That's Ben Feldman, head coach of the Wind Chill. Bring in Bryan Vohnoutka, longtime captain. Hello, Bevon.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back to championship weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's start with a Chicago game in the Central Final. Where does that rank on the list of craziest games you've been a part of, and what did it take to get that win to earn the right to be back here?
Yeah, craziest games? I don't know. I feel like I've been in a lot of crazy games. Very satisfying, though. Like, definitely goes right up there. Probably top 3 victories for Wind Chill for sure. again, Chicago is a phenomenal team, had played us really tough both times earlier in the season. And again, it's just nice to be able to go back and kind of repay them in that like game that mattered the most right at the end of the season. I don't think there was anything particularly different that we ended up doing in that game a lot. Obviously, we changed some structure. We did adjust a little bit of our game plan, but for the most part, is more just team belief and legs and all the usual stuff. Yeah.
Bvon, it's great to see you back here. I think when I think about the wind chill, obviously, no doubt in the team's grit, no doubt in the team's defensive ability. I think publicly this year, I've been a little skeptical about the O-line. I asked your coach a very similar question, just like, where does the O-line's like confidence level stand right now? And like, can you make the case for why someone who doesn't know anything about the UFA should believe in the wind chill O-line coming into this weekend?
Yeah. I mean, the wind chill O-line, I think we feel really good. We obviously know that we weren't perfect in Chicago, but we were doing the right things within the structure and overall getting most of the looks that we wanted. Now, we did run into some trouble and sticky situations, but you're going to have that during the game. So coming back here to Breeze, like, always feels good, and obviously having a little bit of experience here helps. So I think we're going to be raring to go. I think guys are going to come out firing fast, and we'll see how Atlanta plays, but I have a feeling we're going to get pushed deep quite a bit, and so we'll see when those looks are there, when we take them, if we can connect on them. As far as like why people should believe in the wind chill O-line or why you would want to pick us, again, the experience of coming here, obviously it's a different stage. And when you get out here with the crowds, especially the Madison crowd, I'm sure it's going to be packed today, which is going to be sweet. Like it's a little bit different of an environment. I think leaning on that experience, coming out here and just taking our shots when we have them is going to be what we're going to need to rely on. So if we can stay connected, especially that like underneath cutter to handler layer, I think we're going to be in a good spot.
So, you know, I almost hate saying this because it's 11, you know, you're 11-3 this year, but it's almost felt like a bit of a lethargic season in some ways at times. I mean, I've watched a lot of your games over the last few years. It just felt like the beginning of the season was really kind of slow. I mean, you had a 10-point loss to Chicago, which was very surprising. Is there a moment in the season where, you know, something kind of, you know, flipped a switch? Was it maybe after the Salt Lake game? I mean, I know people are going to kind of knock on the Detroit game. Oh, it's, you know, they blew them out, that their offense is overinflated because of that. But you put up 35 in any game. That's a big deal in the way this league is structured these days. So was there a moment that kind of flipped a switch for your team this year that's kind of propelled you on this run where you could see this championship run, you know, as a possibility?
I think we always still had it in the back of our mind, even after the second Chicago loss, that like we have the ability to be here. So it's really about, can we get our guys playing at the level we need to execute on the talent that we have. I do feel like after that second Chicago loss, going to Detroit the next day and being able to immediately make some adjustments, work on some things as far as an O-line. And I know Ben said it before, like we did make adjustments to our offensive structure and how we're working our resets and a little bit of our stack. So being able to retool those right away and just understand that our backs are up against the wall because we had played 2 bad games against Chicago. Like we can't do that a third time. There's no other opportunity there. So I mean, it's a very good call out. It absolutely felt like after that Chicago game, it was, hey, we got to get everyone on board in this boat and start moving in the right direction.
So I actually want to build on that. Hey, B. Okay. Minnesota has been a team that I feel like, talking to so many of the players being in that place, is more comfortable being the underdog. And it was such a feeling of elation winning the championship. And I know one that the team celebrated well into the year. So going off of that like moment or switch, do you think that was something that subconsciously the team almost wanted or craved, was like getting to the point where they were against the wall and it's like the season almost forces you then to get back into that underdog gritty mentality?
It's a good question. I do feel like, again, we've seen it over the past 2 years. This team does like to play when, again, all the chips are in. Like that is where we really thrive. So I personally would love it if we didn't have to do that. I would love if we just came out and just crushed. But you know, whatever whatever it takes for us to operate at peak efficiency, like, again, don't want that to have to take a couple losses and have to be a best of one, but yeah, maybe a little bit, I guess, is maybe the answer. Again, I think as the age of this team is progressing forward, we're seeing a little bit less of that. I think it's easier as a younger player to maybe put some of the like initial pressure aside, but after you've been here once or twice, it can kind of feel like, okay, now we got to do things, or now we have to actually capitalize on pieces. But yeah, I guess a little rambly, but overall, again, I think we do like it when the pressure is high and we are forced to execute. I think that's when we show our best.
Bevon, we've talked about your guys' offensive efficiency, and I kind of want to spend a little bit of time wondering how you guys go about mitigating those early execution mistakes. I know we've talked about it in the past, but give a little bit more insight on how you guys come out and don't make those early game mistakes like you have in the past.
Yeah, good question. For us, it's got to be like doing all the little things. Like I talked about preparation being really important, and obviously making sure that everyone's on the same page there. But I mean, there are things you can do, and just small things that'll set you up for success. Like, again, is our stack a little bit too deep to start the first point? Or did we not catch the pull and not center it as quickly as expected? So now we're a little bit farther downfield, and now we're disconnected, and now all the cutter defenders have rotated underneath. Like, by not catching the pull and not centering it fast enough, we've now disconnected our offense and made it harder for us to start the point. One example, but small things like that like if we are doing all the things that we set out in our game plan and we talk about during the week, we should be, again, in a good spot. And again, taking our shots when we have them too. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about that. We know Atlanta's going to play tough, aggressive person defense. They're going to poach off from a weak side handler or cutter. Being prepared to exploit that and going to the right space is going to be hugely important.
You're in your 9th season with the wind chill,
Yeah.
which is awesome. You know, you've been through the lean years, and now you guys reached the mountain last season, and you're back here as the only returning team from a year ago.
Yeah.
It's been really cool to watch the Wind Chill's progress over time, not only as a team on the field, but also what's been going on as a franchise. Multiple attendance records set this season. One of the, I think, you know, sort of cornerstone franchises at this point. How has that been for you as a player, you know, kind of experiencing the on-the-field changes and then also starting to play in front of, you know, 1,500, 2,000 people at times in Minnesota? And I'm sure it's going to be packed here tonight with Minnesota fans, by the way.
It very well should be. I know we got a lot of, I know my folks, tons of fans are coming, making the trip. It's nice and close. For me as a player, it's been awesome, the organizational structure that has come up on the field, just the level of play and talent, and also the strategies that we're implementing. I mean, again, to your point, Charlie, like I've been like around for 9 years. Some of the stuff we're doing, like we had systems and structures in place that were, you know, borrowed from club, and like we're still trying to figure out the big field, and we're still trying to figure out what strategies and what advantages we can take. But it was really just kind of like mishmash of like how can we get the best out of the talent that we do have. And so for Ben to come in, take over, and really start building out a little bit more of again, not only some of the advantages in our pulling game and some of our end of quarter pieces, but also really leaning heavily into building out the Wind Chill as a program of getting, again, the youth connection. Players like PK and Will, who started out as young kids and were able to contribute a little bit in their first year, but just get a taste and then be, I mean, huge contributors for us now. And we're still getting that. We're still seeing young players. In our last game of the season, we had Zach Morton and Danny Hobday in the roster, and like them being a part of the team and being able to contribute in practice and continue that pipeline of success has been awesome. And they're great players. Like they're way better now than I was when I first started in high school. So for the off-field stuff, again, also awesome. Like for us to be able to travel in days early, for us to be able to have some of the amenities, the perks, and then for the fans to come along with it as well. It's been an amazing experience, and I would say far beyond what I would have expected 9 years ago. If you would have told me this is where we'd be, I would have been shocked. Yeah.
Yvonne, one final question. Justin's waiting patiently, but I want to ask you about leadership. You have been in leadership for a long time with Brandon Mattis and Colin Berry and Josh Klain, and there's this younger generation of really talented players. And I'm curious, who are the leaders in that group that are gradually absorbing more leadership responsibilities that'll probably, be the next generation of this team?
Yeah, I mean, Will for sure. A couple of years ago, we handed over some offensive play calling responsibilities to Will, so that's been awesome. I think he's done a really good job there. I also see Noah on the defensive side being a huge leader, and obviously he's been making a ton of plays and made an impact over these last 2 years, but also really big on strategy and some of our overall game plan. I would also put in, he maybe not as young as some of the other guys, but Tristan's always huge. He's got a really good mind for the game and always is seemingly with a nugget or a piece of information that is hugely helpful on either technique base or some sort of thing to watch out for. So.
Great stuff. Thanks so much for the perspective. Best of luck tonight. Enjoy it.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we will bring in Justin Burnett. I almost said Atlanta's Justin Burnett, but he is trying to knock Atlanta off tonight. Former Hustle, now with the wind chill. Justin, welcome to your first championship weekend. What's it like to be getting ready to play your old boys from Atlanta?
Just another game.
How would you characterize what your first season with the wind chill has been like in terms of finding chemistry with this group, finding your role, finding your confidence to make the impact that you know you can make?
It's been really easy. It's been really fun coming in here with a bunch of young core that they have, and then also old veterans. It's been really fun to make connections. Of course, I played U24 with Will and PK, and Kyle was also, part of that whole delegation, and so I got the chance to build great connections, with that young core. But it's been very easy to fit in, and it's felt very comfortable the entire time. To come in, I had a very, very big first game in Indy, and it just kind of felt natural from the get-go to just slot into that D-line and just start playing with them.
You've got the unique perspective of having been in the Atlanta locker room and now being in the Minnesota locker room.
Speak up.
Sorry. You've got the unique perspective of having been in the Atlanta locker room and now in the Minnesota locker room. How would you characterize the culture of both of those teams and what's been new and interesting about Minnesota?
Very different teams, very different culture. And I think a lot of it comes down from the leadership. Tuba and Ben could probably not be any more different at all. And so, the locker rooms and the teams and cultures are very different as well. But really, they're both focused on winning at the highest level, and they're both focused on the team culture feeling organic and feeling very connected, and everyone's intermingled with each other. There's no hierarchy. It's very sort of familial, and so in the ways that matter, I think it's very similar. There's a hunger there, and there's obvious differences in the ways that information is disseminated, or how coaches talk, or their strategies. But I think in a lot of respects they're pretty similar.
Yeah, so to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, you've had peaks and valleys throughout the season. Your team has, we've had some highs, and you've certainly had some lows. I mentioned to Bevon earlier, there's that 10-point loss against Chicago. That's a tough loss. As somebody who's new to the team this year, how have you seen kind of the leadership and what they've done to be able to keep this team on the tracks and move them down the tracks to get to championship weekend? What's been your perspective on that, and how do you think that impacts you guys this weekend?
Yeah, I give a lot of credit to our coaching staff. you know, they saw that we weren't where we needed to be at that point, you know, especially that Chicago loss. And they made the necessary changes. And they, you know, didn't delay. The very next day, you saw Bivon said it, they were already implementing adjustments. They weren't anywhere near like finished or polished in that Detroit game. But they were already putting pen to paper, you know, putting their minds to fixing the problem in that Chicago game. And so I give a lot of credit to our, you know, coaching staff and leadership for that. I think it's been a really great experience of going through a season with a team where there's ups and downs, as most seasons go, and seeing that just the reaction has been very instant to any sort of thing that we faced, whether that be positive, whether that be negative. The reaction is instant, and there's always a next step. There's never a like, oh, this was great, let's bask in that and just kind of let things go and just like, oh, we're good, so we keep going like that. No, it's like, okay, well, that was great, how do we keep getting better? Or that was bad, how do we get better? And so I think it's been a really great season in terms of like the leadership and coaches' adaptability and the team's willingness to implement those changes. And I, you know, think in this postseason you're seeing the results of that. So.
Justin, let's talk about the mindset coming into this weekend. I think a big theme this season that we've discussed a lot has been you and James Pollard came in new to the team, to a reigning champion team, and they've done a good job of rolling the title off their backs and saying, hey, this is a new year. But talk about kind of coming in and the perspective of you guys haven't won anything, you and James saying.
Yeah, I mean, I've said that the entire season to them and to anyone else is that, you know, we haven't won anything. James and I, but also this team this year has not won anything. And so I just bring that mindset of always staying hungry. You know, there's complacency that can come from winning, but it's not to say that this team was complacent. I think, you know, there was already just kind of that lingering, you know, sentiment in the air of like, oh, it doesn't really count because there was wind, which, you know, is a crazy excuse. But like, so that always existed, and so this team still had like hunger to like prove themselves. It's not like James and I came in and they were just like sitting on their, you know, behinds and we were like, no, we have to get, you know, start moving. No, we came in with that hunger mentality, but it was already present as well. So it's been really good to like come in and like know that we have this hunger and drive to make it here, but also it's mirrored in the team and we can just maybe add a little bit of a dimension to that.
Justin, I was wondering if you could share the origin story behind the wave celebration. When did that start, and what does that moment mean to you when you get to do that on the field?
I mean, I think the first time was just in the our first Chicago game. I scored, kind of just blew by Don and just waved at him. You know, just waved. I blew by him and said goodbye. It's pretty simple, you know. So yeah, that's where that's from. And you know, just a little celebration, just a little, you know, letting them know that they couldn't catch me. And so, you know, I love when a team dislikes it and gets a little chippy about it, you know. That happened with Hayden in the last game. You know, I hope they don't decide to give us double text in this game for simply waving at each other. But, you know, it's just a fun little celebration.
You had a big game last time out against the Hustle. Do you feel some pressure as the leading block getter on this team to come out here and have another big game to try to lead the team to a win against one of the best offenses in the UFA?
No pressure. I am the leading block getter because I don't feel pressure. I just go out and play my game, and my game is get Ds.
What do you think you need to do as they add some pieces back to their offense compared to the last time you saw them in Week 6 to knock them off of their rhythm?
Same thing we did in Week 6. You know, they can, you know, use that full strength sort of crutch as much as they want in their team, but, you know, of their leading people, you know, they had Brett, they had Hack, they had Austin, they had Adam, they had Sean for most of the game. You know, so it's like their main people who we're keyed in on, they were there, and we saw how they performed, and we saw how we performed, and we plan to come out and perform our game plan again. You know, we don't particularly care about specific pieces. We care about system and our defensive system versus their offensive system, and we like our odds.
Justin, I asked this to Tobe Decraene earlier, being a young guy from Europe, but you're a young guy from the United States, and you've grown up with professional Frisbee being in your life probably ever since you started playing. When did you start watching the UFA, and did you dream of being on this stage?
Yeah, I grew up in Atlanta watching Matt Smith and Christian Olsen, and I shared that, with them when I was on that team. It was really awesome getting to play with Matt Smith. I know you mentioned earlier to Fairley that he's played and coached a lot. He coached me in YCC, and we won our, YCC together, me and Fairley, as well as some of the other guys on this team. So, I've always been around the UFA and the hustle, and it's been really awesome to play with the hustle and play against them. It's great to be here. Obviously the goal is always to win and get to the highest level, so I'm happy to achieve that and hope to keep climbing.
Last question. You've played in front of great fans in Atlanta, and obviously Minnesota's had some of the best crowds in the league. Have you had any interactions with fans pregame or postgame that have been especially memorable for you?
Yeah, I always love interacting with the fans, especially the kids and the youth. I feel like almost every single game I had in Minnesota, there was a little kid who would come up to me and be asked to sign their disc and be like, this is their first ever Ultimate game, and now they're going to come to a lot. And they just really enjoyed what they saw and seeing me play, and they want to come back. So those are always just fantastic experiences, and I really enjoy that, especially inspiring and the youth to continue and to grow this sport. So I think those are just amazing.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Thanks for being here. Best of luck tonight, Justin Burnett.
Thanks.
And that'll wrap up our semifinal Friday press conferences here at Breese Stevens Field. It's the Glory and the Shred at 6 o'clock Eastern, and the Hustle and the Wind Chill. About half an hour after that game concludes, we will have Game Day Live coverage starting at 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central, with myself, Ian Toner, Colin Camp, Charlie Eisenhood, Kayla Helton, Kelsey Percy as well. And looking forward to a fantastic Friday here at Championship Weekend. Thanks for checking out the press conferences. We'll talk to you in about 3.5 hours here from Breese Stevens Field in the capital city of Baltimore.